Come on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Climate and Ecological Emergency Committee today, which is the 20th of October 2025. And welcome to the people who are here. Thanks for attending, and welcome for anybody who's watching the recording later. Just a few housekeeping duties first before we start. Welcome to the meeting. In the event of fire, please follow the instructions and directions to the fire exits and make your way to the assembly point adjacent to the Quick Fit building outside. In the interest of openness and transparency, the law permits recording and photography to report on the proceedings of council meetings when they're open to public. No flash photography or additional lighting shall be used without prior consent. Anyone wishing to report on the meeting or anyone not wishing to be filmed or photographed should notify the clerk or the chair. The meeting will be live streamed on YouTube. Therefore, please remember to speak clearly and use your microphone. Remember to switch it off when you've finished. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to suspend or terminate the live streaming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting. Improper conduct or disruptive behaviour will not be tolerated. Please raise your hand to indicate if you wish to speak and wait for me to call upon you. As chair of the meeting, I will determine the order in which members will be invited to speak. Please ensure the efficiency to ensure the efficiency of the meeting. No member may speak for more than 3 minutes on one item or more than once. Therefore, please make your points as concisely as possible. Please may also remind you to be polite and respectful towards one another at all times. Please put your phones on the silent mode or switched off and put them away for the duration of the meeting, and adhere to the non-smoking policy of this building and the grounds of Hamilton House. Thank you. That's that. So just to say who's here today, and can I make a... Oh, John.
If I may, Chair, following your introduction, and with all due politeness, I understand that you prefer to sit where you're sitting.
Yes.
I find as a member of a committee, I would prefer the chair to be consistently where the chairs sit. I find it hard to see where you are. Well, not.
Can you hear me, John?
I can hear you, but I can't always see you easily if you're there. And I'm expressing a preference.
I prefer to sit here. So that's my decision.
Well, actually, I agree with John because you couldn't see John. I had to tap you to tell you that John had his hand up.
No, but
I don't think you have such an every other chair now is sitting at the front, and it seems to work better. You've got a whole overview of the room then.
If you would like me to go, I'll go.
Nobody wants you to go.
Well, that's what I'm feeling.
Why?
Because I decide I want to sit here. I like it here. I don't see what the problem is.
Vision.
That was
when the meeting starts, John. With respect, I think I'm quite able to tell when people got their hands up, and I think I'm able to do that quite well. And I don't think I miss people putting their hands up.
If I may have a second bite at the cherry on one subject, which is contrary to your statement, I think, but it's not, again, with respect, it's not necessarily what you like, but is it not what the council members and the council rules stipulate? The council rules stipulate and what works for council members. But I am not in any way trying to get rid of you. I'm expressing a preference.
Well, I would understand that if it was something that I've always sat here ever since I've been chairing a meeting now, which is best part of 3 years, and I've never sat anywhere else, and nobody's ever mentioned that to me before until today. That seems quite strange to me. Anyway. I'm very sorry that we have to start the meeting with such a bizarre item. Anyway, we'll go on. I'd like to cordially say hello and welcome to our committee to our two new members of the committee who are joining us for the first time, our non-councillor members. And that's to John Ellaby and to Penny Dack, and welcome to our committee. We are charged with the responsibility of doing the best we can for the town and its environment and the ecological situation that it's in, and we try and do the best we can. And I'm sure that you will have lots to add to that as we go forward. So thank you for putting your names down and joining up. So with me today are myself, Paul Page. We have Wendy Brooks, Debbie Ray, John Murray, Neil Colby, John Ellaby and Penny Dack. And from the officers' side, we have Taylor Williams, who's our committee clerk and project planning assistant. Thank you, Taylor. And thank you. Look, I'm really sorry about this. This made me feel really uncomfortable. If you want me to move, I will move. But I really think that should have been something, John, with respect, that we could have talked about before the meeting started proper. You had your hand up, Wendy.
Yeah, I just want a point of information that I'd like from, if Taylor has it. There was a third person who requested to be on the Climate Emergency Committee, but she would only be able to attend probably remotely a lot of the time. And I wonder if you'd have a response from her about if she would like to join or not.
It wasn't so much that her preference was to attend remotely. She was unsure about her own commitments and timings. All the information's been sent to her, and the fact that she was accepted as a non-council member, she was made aware of that. So just waiting to hear back from her.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay then, so to receive and consider approval of apologies for absence, Taylor. I know that Graham Parker has sent his.
Yes, Chair. So Graham Parker, and from our non-councillors, Rachel Bunn and Kathy Williams both sent their apologies. All three of them have given reasons.
Rachel did say she may be listening in on the.
She may be able to attend remotely, but not got.
Okay, thank you. 63. Oh, sorry, Neil. Oh, of course, yes, yeah. Thank you, Neil. And we'll second that. Thank you, John. Now, what we do now for new members of the committee, we just vote to say we accept those apologies, if that's all right. Now, you should have in front of you a microphone. If you press the green button, the red light should come on, by the way. I should have told you that if you want to speak. If you don't, all technology. So, all in favour, please. You can vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have
No, you don't have to vote, but no. But that's general custom that we do. But
yeah, have the ability to actually abstain if you don't do something else in that vote, or you object, or you can actually object to the vote and vote against. So you have the option.
On that particular, on that particular subject.
On all subjects.
Right.
yes, okay. on everything. But the custom is that we normally just accept apologies because there's usually a good reason why people can't be here. Mostly, Wendy. Thank you. So let's do that again. We'll do the vote again then. So all in favour, please. That's everyone. That's unanimous. Thank you, Neil. 63, declarations of interests in dispensations. To 63.1, to receive declarations of disclosable pecuniary and other registrable and non-registrable interest from councillors on the agenda, items on the agenda. Have we got any at all? Wendy?
I think we need to explain this to our non-councillor members, that they know actually what,
I think you're right.
if you belong.
Yeah.
If you have a vested interest in something, either financial, or you have a particular interest in an organisation, then you should declare it.
Or if you're a member of an organisation. Yeah.
If
Debbie?
if it relates to an item on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John?
I guess it might be under a point of order, but while welcoming new members to the committee, have the members of the committee received the training that they should have had that would enable them to understand better what's going on?
Yes, half an hour before the meeting.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, it's just that we're,
Yeah.
That has been
Yep.
done.
no,
Yeah.
thanks.
We have the code of conduct.
I read the riot act at the beginning, remember? Yeah, thank you. All good points. No, thank you very much. So that was 63.1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 63.2, to consider written requests for dispensations for disclosable pecuniary interests and note dispensations granted, 63.2. None. So we're rattling through this. 64. Now, I think, oh yeah, we're not quite there yet. 64. Consider the draft minutes of the meeting on the 15th of September. Now, I know that some people wouldn't have seen those. Wendy?
Propose we approve.
Anybody would like to second that? Yeah, Debbie? Okay. You will get a chance to see these at the next times. You'll see the previous meetings. Can we have a vote on that then, please?
Just a question,
Yeah.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Sorry, John.
So we got the minutes for the last meeting. One would normally do matters arising, but you don't do that?
No. That's a very good point.
Not allowed by law.
Yeah, okay.
Explain, we don't do matters arising because our agendas have to be seen by the public.
Mm.
They have to know what's on our agenda. So they can make comments. We cannot have matters arising because it means then that things could come up that the members of the public haven't been informed we're going to discuss.
Thank you, Wendy. Very well put. Yeah. John?
I completely understand that argument, and that is the argument. Personally, I feel that that is a false argument.
Well,
But no, let me finish.
Hang on,
please.
Wendy.
Because not that what Wendy's saying is wrong, but that the position of the council is wrong. In that, the minutes of the last meeting are on the agenda, and therefore, if somebody wants to bring something up about those, that should be allowed, in my view.
Hmm.
So I think the premise which we're building this on is wrong, in my view.
So it would have to go back to standing orders, wouldn't it, to make a complete change? But that's not going to happen.
Far be it, Chair, for me as a very much a newbie, but to suddenly enter into a diabolically difficult argument. But there is an item on here for a meeting on the 23rd of September, which I don't know whether it happened or not, but I'd be very interested to know what the results of it were. And it would seem to me, I can't imagine when one would find out what happened there, because by the time you get a report on this, which might be, I don't know when it would be, personally, already I'm frustrated. And so I think it's a difficult thing, either that or things which might arise from the minutes ought to go straight into the agenda as a matter of course. Right, that's the end. I know I'm new and I shouldn't be intervening straight away at this point.
It's fine. Thank you for that point, and I think it's been taken on board by the committee, and it's something perhaps we need to look at again. Thank you. Yeah, we have a second. So can we approve the draft minutes from the meeting on the 15th September then? That's
Can't vote on it because
no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and two abstentions, please. Thank you, Taylor. 65, public forum, an opportunity for the public to make comments on any matters on this agenda and to consider any advance comments from the public. Andy.
I really came to observe. I hadn't actually planned to speak on the meeting, but obviously there's been a couple of governance items already mentioned. So I just wondered whether I could speak to the governance issues. Just two of them, really. I am a councillor, but I'm not here as a councillor because I'm not currently a member of this committee. I have actually put in a request to rejoin, but from next month. It's just to say, in relation to the first item that came up, I walked out halfway through, so I know what it is. And in the same situation, I would have been wrong-footed and felt the same way as you, Paul. All I would say is, please don't think it's aimed at you, because I'd also been the long-standing chair of a committee, and I don't chair a full committee this year, but I am a deputy chair, and I chaired 2 meetings in the summer where I had to sit where you're now sitting. It's very out of my comfort zone. And I think it came in, I think it was a suggestion from staff really about if we're going to have the standardisation about the intro and the standing orders, maybe it would be better if the chair sat at the front. It was nothing more than that. It isn't aimed at any individual chair. So I just wanted to make that comment because I had to do it as well.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you for understanding that it's not always
No, it isn't. It's very odd.
easy for some people.
It's very odd that in that situation, if you've been sat in one of the chairs around the side all the time, but it was something that came in as a suggestion from staff here this year about how to help chairs manage the meetings. The other one about the minutes, Wendy is exactly right. That is the reason we can't have matters arising or any other business on the meeting. It's not a matter of council policy, it's a matter of law. Because we have the public notification period, there has to be several days clear notice for the public to know what is going to be discussed at that meeting, and you can't therefore have these broad brush headings like any other business or matters arising. But the point that the suggestion that John E made is very well made, that actually if there is like an action that was agreed at the last minutes, then even though you can't have a matters arising item, you could actually have an agenda item to pick up progress against that action. And it could just automatically go into the agenda as an item. That would be one way of dealing with it. The other thing, as John M will know off the back of a meeting earlier this year, is we had a decision like tracker. So when a decision is made into a meeting, it goes into an internally viewable decisions tracker where what stage that's at can be, at a glance, you can see what stage it's at, who's owning it, is it internal, is it in third party? But I think if there are matters arising from a previous minutes, they should just go straight into the agenda as standalone items. And I think that's probably the best compromise.
Thank you, Andy. I think that's
That's
really
just
good.
a suggestion.
No, good suggestion. Thank you, Andy. Wendy.
Request, before the meeting
Oh,
started.
I'm
that-
on that. I will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a request, and can we move the meeting on now?
Yes. Debbie just had a hand
Yeah,
up.
it's just that non-councillor members won't have access to that tracker, so they won't be able to, well, I assume they won't. So they won't be able to see what's,
No, they're
being
not in the
followed through.
internal software because non-councillors are
No.
still fundamentally different from councillors.
Yeah. So there is a problem with that.
No, there is, it's very straightforward. If people knows, if we knew this meeting was happening, during the meeting, people request agenda items. Anyone can request an agenda item as long as you do it 7 days before, and then that item goes on the agenda if something wants to be followed up. But we have a long agenda, so can we get on, please?
Yeah, fine. I'll let you come back, Andy, because
That doesn't invalidate the point that John made,
No.
and which I did, that actually, if you have an item in the minutes, because the minutes item on the agenda is just to consider whether the minutes are true and accurate record of that meeting. But if it was agreed at that meeting that an action would be taken, you shouldn't have to individually ask for that item to be added. It should go on there as an automatic because it's been triggered by the previous minutes. And all I'm suggesting is, because John Elvey did it, that would actually be a compromise, that we can't break the law, but we can deal with it that way.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. And that's the way we'll do it. So you've made your impact, John. Well done. Now, I've had a request from Wendy that we would perhaps bring forward item 70, 70.1, isn't it? Wendy? Receive the notes of the public transport meeting group on the 1st of October. Is that the one? And bring that forward now so that John can speak about it. Are we all happy about that? Do we need to vote on that to bring that forward?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the member of public speaking in the public forum, and then the item is brought forward by consensus of the committee.
So can we have a vote? Are you all happy? I propose that we move the item 70 on your agenda, 70.1 forward. I propose that. Well, anyone like Debbie would like to second it. Can we have a vote on that, please? That's apart from Penny, I think that's everybody. Oh, Penny as well, so that's unanimous. So John, you're on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me a couple of minutes. Yes, I'm John Stillett, and I am a member of the Public Transport Working Group. And we have been busy, and we've produced a scheme on a page for the bus service improvement plan, which is this. And I commend it to you to pass to full council. There is, I think, a pot of £3 million for bus improvements in Suffolk. I think there's also a pot of £2 million for things like capital programs as well, like bus stops and things. But we're concerned with the service, and we had the town council did a survey last year, and we got something like 600 results, and we sent this to the county council, and the upshot is that we do have a new bus service starting in Lowestoft very shortly, a new 107 service. It's important because the subject is important because transport is the biggest emitter of carbon emissions at the moment. So anything we can do to get people to use public transport rather than take their car is important, as well as social inclusiveness as well. So anyway, our scheme is basically 2 services to run in the evening, where the survey showed there was a deficit of basically bus services closed down from about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So we've decided to put in a bid for some evening services based around the 109 and the 122 services. It will cover a good part of the town. We've made our case. I couldn't. I haven't. My printer's not working, so I couldn't print off the scheme. But I guess you might have all seen it. I don't know. But we've stuck to existing routes because we were informed that the drivers wouldn't need to learn new routes. So that's why we're sticking to existing routes to extend them into the evening, and we're hoping to get some good benefits from that from our bid, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Or Wendy chairs the group, so I'm sure Wendy will got something to say.
Thank you, John. Wendy.
Thanks, John. Just as John did the bulk of the work on this scheme on a page, we took advice from a bus driver about what would be most successful. like we all know, I think all of us will admit that the bus service in Lowestoft isn't really good enough. But actually, we can't demand everything because we simply won't get it. So we decided with the advice from the bus driver about something that might succeed. So that's what the scheme on a page, something that we stand a reasonable, well, not, let's say, a chance of winning. So we're doing it bit by bit. The other, so we've taken it, and also we had a transport survey that we did with local people, which also informed some of our opinions. But this needs to go to basically what we're seeking. Can I say this now? Basically what we're seeking is the approval of this committee for the scheme on a page so that it can go to full council for their approval, and then we will submit it to Suffolk County Council. We'd also agreed that we would, part of the bid is that we would help publicise any new schemes, because it's felt that First Bus and Suffolk County Council are not necessarily very good at letting the public know when they've got new services or they're changing services. So we've actually said we would be happy to publicise these new routes. And we, as an example, we've already publicised on our page the new route that's coming to Gunton. So we've got the timetables from Suffolk County Council who've said that we can put that information on our Lowestoft Town Council page so that people actually know about it. It's got the whole timetable, which is quite limited, but the timetable is there. But John's done an awful lot of work on this scheme. He's worked out hours and he's worked out all sorts of stuff. I hope people have managed to read it. So basically what we're seeking is the approval of this group so that it can go to full council and then it can go to Suffolk County Council.
Which is 70.2, Wendy, isn't it? The next.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Which is to receive and consider the draft scheme on a page bid.
But people might have questions.
Yeah, of course. So any questions about the proposal to take it to full council? You may not know anything about the scheme on a page bid, but yeah, it should. Yeah, it's there. Yeah. No questions? Well, then going on 70.2, then I'd like to propose that then we do send it to full council for recommendation. Wendy, thank you. Can we have a vote on that, please? Or John, were you going to say something? Or no? That's everybody. That's unanimous. And thank you, Wendy, for your committee, and thank you, John, for what you've done as well. So I know it's considerable. Thank you.
Can I also just add one other thing on this item?
Sure.
In terms of our improving buses in Lowestoft, Simon Barnett, Suffolk County Council transport person, is that right, John? Is he transport?
Yes.
Yeah. Is meeting with, I don't know if he's meeting with Esther or he's meeting with the Wherry lines on Friday, November the 7th in the morning, and would like to have a conversation because we're trying to get a kind of a meeting in about transport, and we want it based in Lowestoft. So Simon has offered to meet with us, to talk with us and the Esther, and I think he's talking to the Wherry lines in the morning, but he's going to let me know. It'll be late morning, early afternoon, and I've suggested that as he's going to be at the railway station, we meet him at the railway station. So if people would like to consider, and they can come along and join, have a conversation. He's a really nice guy, actually. He's very positive, and have a conversation with him about Lowestoft, what we need, and setting up this meeting. That'd be great. But there'll be more information coming round about that. Well, no, there won't be any more information. This is the information.
This is it.
7th of November. But I won't be able to let you know the
Which date was
exact
Wendy?
time until
What was that exact date again?
the 7th of November.
7th. Yeah.
I won't be able to. I know he's meeting with them in the morning, and he said he will message me when that meeting, he expects that meeting to finish, and us. So basically it's going to be just expect a message from me at what time,
Mm.
because if I know earlier, if I know on the Thursday, I'll ask Taylor to email everybody, but it will be, it's a bit, the actual timing would depend on how long this meeting takes with the wary people.
Thank you, Wendy. So that's an invitation for everybody on the
Yeah.
7th of November. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll go back to the original order of the agenda, and the next one is finance and budget 66.1, to monitor expenditure by this committee from the climate emergency budget under delegated authority. Taylor.
Yeah, so the climate budget document was issued on Teams. Any questions?
Any questions anyone's got about the budget?
Don't think we've actually had any expenditure since the previous
No, I don't
meeting.
think we have.
No.
So it was okay last time. Thank you. 66.2, to consider recommendations for the 26-27 budget. Do we have any recommendations? Wendy.
So I think, well, one of them is certainly coming up later. One is an increase in the bulky waste budget. And the other one I'm wondering about, but I think we were going for grants, was the solar panels on the town hall. Andy might be able to throw more light on this one, on that one, in terms of our 26-27 budget.
Because that was already committed for expenditure, well, not committed for expenditure, but it was ring fenced for this year, as I understand it. So if it's not yet been expended, it will most likely be reviewed by budget and loan and put over to next year's budget, ready for when it's needed.
Yeah. Andy, do you know anything about that? Yeah, I will allow you to speak. Wendy invited you.
The decision on the PV panels and other environmental features of the town halls, including the alternatives to central heating. Oh, yeah,
Heat pump.
the
Yeah.
pumps, contribution to those. What we had agreed was, which went to full council, was that we would directly fund up to a maximum amount of 90,000. It originally came about because when all the construction bids came back over budget, we looked at what we could potentially, they were value engineering to try and get certain things down, and we looked at what we could legitimately directly fund, particularly environmental measures. So what we did is we put, I can't remember whether we put 40,000 or 45,000 in this year's budget that is also penciled in against that 90,000. And so following the full council resolution, the other half will be budgeted for 26-27. So it's 90,000 over 2 financial years towards environmental measures in the town hall. And obviously it's not just charity, because if it makes for cheaper running costs, then ultimately in the long run we recoup that. So that has already been to full council and been agreed. I believe, I'd need to check with James, but I think it was last month.
Yeah.
So it's likely that the 45,000 that's in this year either won't be spent by the end of this financial year, or will be right at the very end of the financial year, because I think it's around the turn of the financial year that the first expenditure is due to happen.
Okay.
And yes, and Wendy's right. The other thing that came today was decision that needs to be made. So I think the budget for the bulky waste agreement is currently, it was 25,000. I think with inflation it's 27,500 at the moment. 27,125. So the question is, because it's kind of been a victim of its own success, does the full council want to increase the number of collections, only at cost, in order to provide the service? And the contractor estimated that in order to provide a service which would essentially clear the running backlog, or at least reduce it to less than a month, it would be about another £1,000 a month, so £12,000 a year. And so the question is, does the council want to do this? And obviously that would start with a recommendation from climate, and if so, there would potentially be a recommendation to increase the bulky waste budget by another 12,000 from next year, and that will be for you to consider later on.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. John.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify in my head, when it says to consider recommendations for the 26-27 budget, well, that's clear enough. But how, I don't understand what they are. I mean, how can you consider them? Well, I mean, I can't consider them at all, obviously, because I've got no idea what they are.
Yeah.
But you obviously do. And is that the way I should look at it?
Yeah.
Or another, sorry, Wendy,
Oh.
is this a question where I can say, oh, I can foresee this expenditure coming up?
Yes.
Is that the point?
Exactly.
Oh, excellent. Right. Thank you. I've got a point to make at the moment.
Wendy.
It is recommendations from this committee about hoped for projected expenditure that the climate emergency expects next year. So what does it need in its budget? So we have 60,000 basically, plus we have money for bulky waste and we have money for other things as well. It's in the paper. But if there are specific items that people feel, well, I think we should be spending X on this, it might be something that's in another budget. So we won't have to worry about it. It might be something that we haven't thought of, which we have to make a decision on. So if you've got something you feel in terms of the budget, you feel we should consider, can you raise it now? Can John raise it now?
I don't see why not.
Can't he? What's your point?
That's what it says, to consider recommendations.
Thank you very much for this dispensation to talk for an hour and a half. So,
3 minutes.
Thank you. As Debbie will know very, very well, I better say I'm affiliated to various organisations, Most Eastleigh Community Group, a subgroup of them called Use It All. So Most Eastleigh is a community group which is all about the High Street and its environs. Use It All is a recycling group connected to that. So MEC has been doing a project on blister packs, medicine blister packs, recycling of. We've been trying to connect with all three tiers of local government in an attempt to draw those people together to do a scheme which would build on the success, by which I mean an overwhelming amount of stuff not donated but collected, and I'm running out of space to put it somewhere. And I feel I would recommend to the committee that this ought to be something that certainly comes up in front of a climate emergency, because it's recycling. It's a notional thing which any individual member of our community can do and feel as though they are helping, which strikes me as being a commendable act and positive. But it's also an opportunity to cooperate across three tiers. So that'll be flagging up. The amount is impossible to say, and maybe it should go to guidance. I don't know, but I feel as though we should have an interest. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Wendy?
We can't make that decision now.
No.
I think it should go on the next agenda, which gives us enough time still to feed into the budget, but it needs to be a specific agenda item for the next meeting. So if we put it on the next climate emergency meeting and you can then present it and we have time to think about it, we can vote on it, and then we can make a recommendation to budget loan. But we can't discuss it today because it's not on the agenda.
But Taylor can put it on for next time.
Yeah. That's what I think we should do.
Well, I'm fine with it. Sorry.
I was just going to ask Taylor.
I'll just need a clear agenda item for it and kind of clarify if this is a budget recommendation, but if it's for an external organisation, would it not then be a grant application?
Sorry?
A grant? No.
Yeah, but some grant applications, I'm not sure, I can't remember if John's budget actually did come out of climate emergency budget. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was a grant, it was definitely a grant approach that we approved.
Was it a grant?
Did we pay it out of the grant budget, or did we pay it out of the climate budget.
Well, it's a case of regardless of which budget it was
Yeah.
paid out of, it still went through the proper process.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
A grant application to the Finance and Governance Committee. We can't really have this committee saying,
No.
let's put money aside for this.
Oh, Andy's wanting to speak. I know he's got a knowledge of this. Andy.
Sorry, can I just speak again?
Yeah, yeah.
Wendy's right. The original thing which we did was a fairly localised project. We used, or we gave a grant. Okay, there was a grant application. I think Wendy's. I would suggest, from a governance point of view, just put it on the next agenda because. But then, if John can provide an outline of the project and the scope, then if it does involve giving money to or via a third-party organisation, decision can be made at that time. Either that we recommend to go down the grant route or you look at direct funding from the climate budget and you can decide on the strength of that project outline how you're going to approach it. Because I think you can't say at the moment because you haven't got the project description.
No, thank you. John, did you want to come back? I'll come back to you, Wendy. John?
Yes, just to add that I have sort of like 3 outline projects depending on the size of it, which is why it's a bit difficult at this point to put a cost on it. I could put several costs on it, but it just depends on the level of cooperation we're getting across the board and what finance is available. So the only reason I leapt on this is because it's a climate area and one which I feel as though the committee ought to get behind, even if it doesn't come from its own budget. So it's most likely that what would come in front of you next November in the next meeting, which I would relish, is a briefing note to you for you probably to say yes, we'd love to take that further or not.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever it is.
Fair enough. Wendy?
Right. This is problem areas because John is representing the most easy group and Use It All. You are here on this committee, you cannot use this group to advance a particular interest group without declaring it, and you won't be able to vote on it. If you're coming here to sit on this committee to ask for grants for particular interest groups you won't be allowed to vote. You'll have to sit in the public area. So when it comes to the next meeting, we have to be very careful what we're up to at the moment, because we cannot have people coming along and I've got my own interest, and I've got my own interest. That is not the purpose of this committee.
And this meeting is very transparent. It's being recorded, so we'll make sure that's all done properly, Wendy.
Well, yes, I mean, but we can't carry on this discussion. It's going to be on the next agenda.
We're going to stop there.
I think we should move on.
Yeah, we'll move on, John. And we'll discuss it next time. Thank you for that, Taylor. So it takes us on to 67. To consider the following in relation to the natural environment of Lowestoft's parks and open spaces and discuss relevant actions. 67.1, discuss the changing coastline and coastal erosion. John.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether my comments are within the scope of the question or not, but the flood risk that Lowestoft faces is inextricably linked with the coastline and coastal erosion, because one affects the other.
Oh, sorry. Can I just interject, John? Taylor.
So just to note for this item, it was requested by Councillor John Pitts. I don't think it was specifically about the flood risk to the town. He was looking at the coastal erosion around the sort of Pakefield area and what that's been going through. This is the 3rd time that this item has been deferred because unfortunately Councillor Pitts hasn't been able to attend. By normal standard, if we've got to the meeting where it's been deferred for the 3rd time, it's then not taken forward to the next one, unless Councillor Pitts is then sure he's attending the next one and requesting to go on.
Unless John would like to take it on his behalf.
Well, I don't know what John Pitts would have said.
No.
No. And therefore I will, when it comes to suggestions for the next agenda,
yes,
I will make a recommendation that we spend some time on the minor issue of Lowestoft disappearing beneath the waves.
Such a minor issue. Thank you, John. Okay, Wendy.
Just very quickly to say to John, I'm not going to say it in this meeting, but we have had some feedback from East Suffolk Council on that issue. And it's basically funding.
Everything goes back to funding. Yep. Thank you. Anybody else on that item? No, thank you. 68, to consider avenues of community engagement and relevant actions. And 68.1, review the Planet Positive event. And I think there's pretty positive things I've heard said about it. Debbie.
I thought it was an excellent event. Unfortunately, it wasn't particularly well attended. The weather wasn't brilliant, but I think for the first time possibly they used huge tents that worked really well because basically they protected everyone from the rain. And also it made it gave it quite a nice atmosphere. There was some good talks by John from the Met Office. There was a storyteller for the children. He was very entertaining.
He was a local author, wasn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was. Yeah. And yeah, it was very good in my opinion. So hopefully next year we can better it.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a thank to mostly Christopher, I think, who did a lot of that work himself. Thanks from this committee for his hard work on that. Christopher Meek. Wendy.
Yeah, Deborah's right. It wasn't as well attended as we would have hoped. And the weather was pretty grim that day. It was also seemed to happen, I felt, at a point where had been loads of things going on around the town in the previous weekends. There was just so much going on. It was almost like it was just yet another thing. And maybe we need to look at the timing and that maybe doing it when we did, which I believe, was it, or I can't remember now, was it September?
September.
But it was Heritage Open Days, there was all sorts of stuff going on. And I just think, because the other years the attendance has been much better and the weather's been appalling as well, but we've managed to get a much better turnout. And I just felt very much that people were they'd had enough of events. There were too many events going on almost. Maybe we need to look at the timing of it.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Have it earlier in the year or something.
Yeah, it's always a problem, isn't it?
But
It's all...
the stalls were really good. The people who were there were very interesting. So it was like, there was nothing wrong with the organisation. It was just that it didn't draw people in.
Thank you. Penny.
It's well organised. I agree with Deb. The tents were absolutely, they were great. But I always feel with these events, there is never enough publicity and you need posters everywhere to get people in.
Yeah.
It's got to be really well publicised. I'm sure we
And
poster publicity.
I think the comms team did their work on that. They did, but we do need more, I think, big posters out there. I think that's the thing. Yeah. Thank you. Debbie.
From what Penny was saying, I think in the past we've suggested that possibly we could have big wooden boards like they do for the First Light Festival in certain areas of the town. I know we might be on East Suffolk property, but perhaps we could ask them if we could actually put these boards up on their property.
You can ask them. It's usually for a fee. So then in terms of how many advertisements you want out there, you then really have to take into account advertising fees. So yeah, that's the main thing with that.
Wendy.
I'd like us to try and use one of we've got one on our own land. We've got one on the town green that just advertises the Marine Theatre, as do all the others along London Road North. And I'd like us to maybe have a conversation with the Marina Theatre to say, look, how about you let us, given that it is on our land and it is our board, that we can use it. We can, that we can, when we've got a big event coming up, where we can actually put some advertising on that board. Because the whole of London Road
Yeah.
North coming into town on the Yarmouth Road, sorry, not London Road North,
Yeah,
on the Yarmouth
yeah,
Road
yeah.
is adverts for the marina. And surely.
I've heard you
one-
make that argument before.
Sorry?
I've heard you make that argument before, and I think it's a good one. It's a good one, but we've
Yeah.
never got anywhere with it.
No,
We need to. Yeah.
we need to. I think we, I can't see the problem.
Maybe that's something we can find out about. John,
Sorry to,
don't apologise.
okay. Yeah, just on the advertising side of Planet Positive, I was there with a different hat on, and thought in many ways it was good, apart from there not being anybody there, but or for few. What I wondered was when these things are designed, is there a specific budget for promotion?
Yes, there is.
There is. Okay. And who decides? This is a genuine question. Who decides the kind of way that's allocated?
Well, it's-
I don't-
Events go to the Events and Comms Committee.
Yeah.
We have an events officer that's Chris Meek, and we have a comms officer that is Michael. And they decide how to spend the budget, both to put on the event and to advertise it.
Yeah. I mean, I would make out that the 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we did the Green Weekend, a lot of the organisation of that went through this committee. And subsequently, we have given it over to the other committee, the events committee, working closely with Christopher and Michael. I feel that personally, I'd like to have more of a hand on it. And this committee should have more of a hand on it for going forward. And I think that could, but you're right, because the big thing is engagement with the public. And if you can't get the public interested in the biggest issue to all of us, which is the climate emergency at this time, you're never going to win. So you must get the public there. So it's up to us to think of a better way of getting the public there. You know, you may even have to be a bit gimmicky with it, but you've got to have something that's going to get people there. So that's what I think for the future. So for next time, I'd like to have more involvement for this committee if that's possible.
Yeah, certainly when it's underway in terms of all the preparations, we can have it as a standing item, and then it's always there, and
if we could,
it's ready to have any contributions, any discussions, any issues that Chris then comes across. It's on the agenda and ready to be discussed here.
It's to help the office, to work alongside the office. Penny. Yes. 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 Yeah. Thank you, John.
If you want to get have more sort of hands-on approach, or go back to perhaps the way you saw it in earlier days, in olden times, then it's going to need to be an agenda item fairly soon, isn't it? Because you're already thinking about changing the date or the month. And if you decide we'll go May, you're actually suddenly looking at no time at all. So we now as a committee are going to have to take that on board quite rapidly.
Very pertinent, John, and that's something that I brought up myself last year, because if you want to get people there, you have to book them up a year in advance, Wendy. So, you know, we need to get going with this. We need to get a date. Your point about a date, we need to have a date in our heads already for next year and work from that. Debbie.
So perhaps we should put it as an agenda item on next month's agenda.
And as a rolling.
Yeah.
Rolling.
Invite Chris.
Sorry?
Invite Chris.
I'd love Chris, get involved at an early stage with Chris. Yeah. Oh, that's good. All agreed then. We'll have it on as a regular, if that's all right, Taylor. Thank you. 68.2, consider inviting East Suffolk Council's new Community Resilience Officer to a future meeting to advise the committee on the remit of her role. Debbie.
Yeah, well, climate change is here and we need to build resilience to the effects of it. So East Suffolk Council have just taken on a new resilience officer from January this year. And basically her remit is to go around to schools and various other community organisations to basically, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So she's helping people to learn what to do in the event of any sort of emergency situation. Now, I think it might be worth her coming here to speak to us, to let us know what she's doing, how she's doing it, and we can either work with her or follow it through with this committee, because I think this council needs to be part of this resilience building. So can
Yep.
we contact her? I can give you her details, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. Neil.
Just as a query, I would say, Chair, that also sounds like across into community safety. So it may be wise to have a joint meeting between the two committees, because otherwise that you could have duplicating things all over the place.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil. John.
Thank you. This also has a link to the next item, which might not be immediately apparent, but if I leave my intervention to the next item, but it does link to this.
Yeah. Thank you. Debbie.
Yeah, just one other thing. This person is actually going to have a webinar for councillors, and I believe it's going to be on the next full council agenda for 2 councillors to join her webinar. But I still think, even so, this committee should this committee should also hear from her.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
John.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to add, I think it'd be a very good idea. It's engagement, somebody that's going to have a tremendous job on their hands. What I would suggest, respectfully, if you invite her or him specifically to the group or to the 2 groups or to as many as you want, ask them to come armed with suggestions for actions which she thinks could be comfortably taken, so that you can walk out of that meeting saying, right, we're going to do this, rather than just listen, because you will listen to an interesting report, I'm sure, but what you really want to know is, what do we do to help him or her? Yeah.
Thank you, John. I think in that's her, I think, because it's written as her on the agenda. So that's gone through, Taylor, that invitation.
Oh, we'll need a proposal.
Oh, well, Debbie, you're going to propose? Yeah, I'll second that. Can we have a vote then to inviting the resilience officer? That's unanimous. That's everybody. Thank you. And 68.3, John, you're going to start with this. Consider inviting a member of East Suffolk Council's coastal management team to a meeting to advise their position on coastal defences. John.
Thank you. A couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with one of the officers from ABP locally, and small group, and it was a very positive. The subject of the thing was the risk of flooding to Lowestoft and what might be done about it. The outcome of that meeting, which was positive, was, or one of the outcomes was that as far as the council is concerned, and we impressed on him that we have no power as such, but we can be an irritant in the right places. That it would be useful to associate ourselves, form associations with other bodies, or certainly make ourselves known and get into their systems, so that we are part of a group discussing the lamentable failure of the system to provide Lowestoft with a flood defence, despite literature put out by them saying they've been completed, which was incorrect and has been slightly amended subsequently following intervention. So yes, I think that proposal, I would like to propose it, and so on and so forth, in the context of a wider action by Lowestoft Town Council seeking to assemble our or increase our involvement with other groups, engage with other groups, which is part and parcel of the action that was requested and approved of the full committee through this committee, and sits on the action planner, which was referenced. And as yet, not a lot has happened on that. And I would urge that more is done rapidly, because the floods could come tomorrow. So I think I would suggest having this as a moderate issue on our action planner should be moved up to the highest priority, urgent. But I would also suggest that the previous item because what we do in not just catastrophic floods, which quite honestly, I don't know what we're doing in a catastrophic flood, but what we do in a medium flood has potential to be linked to what the community resilience officer might consider and say. And therefore, I think that invitation should be put inside the envelope of that wider work.
Yeah.
And that, broadly speaking, is my proposal. If anybody can make sense of it, good luck.
I think we did. A couple of people would like to speak about that. Debbie.
Yeah, this person was involved with the tidal barrier from, I believe, the day one, from the beginning. So they will be able to tell us exactly what happened, why it happened, when it happened, and the history of the barrier, which I think is worth knowing, because there's still a lot of gaps in people's knowledge, and people don't understand quite why what happened. Also, I think they can also advise us of what their position is going forward, which will again help us decide how we're going to work and what we do. So yeah, I would second John's proposal.
Thank you, Debbie. Wendy.
I see absolutely no harm in us inviting East Suffolk Council's coastal management team, given there's all sorts of questions I'd like to ask them, like why did they fall out with the Norfolk people? There was a Norfolk and Suffolk coastal team that seemed to be working quite well together. They fell out. I'd like to know why they fell out. I know what people are saying. I know what people are thinking, but I think we have to go back to we need to understand what is going on. There is pitiful amount of money from this government towards flood defences in the country, and a pitiful lack of understanding that if you just keep building and concreting over the land and the countryside, you're going to increase flooding. There seems to be very little understanding at central government that actually a lot of their actions are actually making matters worse for many of us, building on floodplains, which has been going on for donkey's years. So it'd be very interesting to find out what their actual remit is, and I would be very interested to hear them explain to us what exactly. I think I know what the I know what the environmental agency's line is on this, and in some ways I have some sympathy with it, because water has to go somewhere. But if you keep concreting over the places it used to go, and you don't dredge rivers, and you don't do any of the other stuff that stops, that water has to go somewhere. Anyway, yes, it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Listen to them and see what they've got to say.
So we've got a proposal, we've got a seconder. Should we have a vote on that then, please? Unless anyone else wants to speak. That's unanimous. That's everybody. Thank you. So if we could have that invitation as well. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. You can call me Paul.
Is that in that meeting, it was suggested that the group, and it's not meant to be an exclusive group, but we felt that having a small group is useful, but that's not to say people can't come and go. But that should be formalised in without overdoing it. But there should be a structure to that, so that it was known within the council that process was going on with some sort of structure, and that there was almost a remit on a small group to push and take that forward.
Take it forward.
But I would also look at something more structural in what we're doing. The action planner, my understanding of it and reading of it so far is that it entirely puts actions on officers. I see absolutely no reason at all why it shouldn't say, and councillor X, Y, and Z is expected to do,
Or committees, yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I think it would benefit by identifying what we're meant to be doing
Mm.
or have committed to do, and also a timeline.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And I think
Otherwise,
process,
things.
if that suggestion needs proposing or whatever, but I would like to squeeze that into the consideration of how they.
Under what item on the agenda?
Yeah, well, that's another item, isn't it? Really?
I just
Yeah.
want to add one
Wendy.
thing to say. So I understood that we got together a group of different named people who were interested in getting together on some kind of flood prevention group, and I believe Taylor did contact them, but I don't think any of them got back to her. Am I wrong?
Is that right?
Or did you not?
Correct, Taylor?
Were they not contacted? They were people who, they were at the, if you remember the AGM from there.
Yeah, one of the actions was compile a list of organisation groups, local and wider, with an interest in this to kind of form a sort of network. I think that, as Councillor Murray said, that's something where I'm not particularly aware of
No,
what these groups are.
no.
There's only so much I can find out by doing individual research. That's, as Councillor Murray said, that's probably something where members of the committee need to be contributing in.
Yeah.
What groups need to be contacted, what their contact details are, because I think it was one action was about groups with an interest in it, and then another action was bodies in the nation, official bodies that can be contacted as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
If I may, that's perhaps where our system isn't working very well, because if
Thank you.
if I've heard Taylor correctly, one of the things Taylor's saying is it's not an easy task to do what we've asked of you. If there are issues and difficulties, then we don't seem to have much of a feedback loop.
No.
There was feedback on one of our previous meetings. I think Councillor Murray, it's one you weren't in attendance on. I gave feedback on the 10-point proposal with all the actions, and under that one I said these are the groups I found so far. Committee need to discuss this in the meeting and make suggestions, but no suggestions were forthcoming in that meeting.
No. John.
Just to add 2 pennies, but mainly to the remark about, and I don't really know what the tracking thing is, but I've got a vague idea now. It strikes me as being a really excellent suggestion that as councillors, and indeed as added members now, there's no reason why you shouldn't take on certain responsibilities, and in effect, it might be your responsibility actually to chase if necessary, the officer, or supply the officer with information where they can carry that out.
Yeah.
Because we're on the ground and just getting whispers, passing those whispers on, by which I mean get a name, oh, I hear there's this going on or there's this group appearing, pass it on so that you can gradually add it up. And if you identified individuals within a council group, I know everybody's busy and you don't have to take responsibility, but if the case arose, get it on there. Because spreading the load is part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. John, did you want to make that proposal then? Is it aligned to anything on the agenda?
No, but it would be, I guess it would be a suggestion for a
next time
agenda item to suggest, and then it goes up through our system.
Yeah.
But it does seem, having seen what I think is an excellent start to the action tracker, I think it could be improved by somehow addressing that aspect as well.
So can we have that as an agenda item next time, Taylor, please?
You could say January. It's not urgent.
It's only November. Wendy.
I kind of understand what John's saying, but I've got reservations because we seem to frequently we'll start saying, like, I'm thinking about the Plastic Action Group, right, and various other groups that we feel this would be a really good thing to do, you know, to get single-use plastic. This would be a really good thing to do to have the hospital open again. This would be a really good thing to have flood defences. But actually, as a parish council, we don't really have an awful lot of power when it comes to this sort of stuff, or we don't own the land where these sorts of decisions need to be taken. So I just don't want us to become a talking shop, or even just we keep talking to the same people. There were people at the AGM who were very passionate about the flooding. However, have they got in touch with the town council? Because we made it very clear to them that we were very willing to listen and we were open to them. So we, you know, I'm more of a person that if there is a group that's in existence and they're doing stuff, we can, and we will happily support them. We cannot do everything. And I think we're deluding ourselves if we think we can. I mean, it's very badly put, but I'm actually just very cautious of being on every single body going and going to every single meeting, but actually achieving nothing. We have to be very, you know, we have a certain amount of time to do things, all of us, you know, we have some councillors who do an awful lot and some who don't do very much at all. So we are limited in terms of what we can do. We've got a town hall we're about to open, we've got the Marina Theatre, we've got all our parks, and we have to be realistic.
Yeah, John.
I don't disagree with elements of what Wendy is saying, but in this specific item, that there is a flood risk to Lowestoft, and the powers that be, including the Environment Agency, who have got the wrong metrics for deciding where the money goes, and that's another issue. But it is an issue that if it happens, and some people say when it happens again, it could be catastrophic for Lowestoft. Now, I fully accept that we have got no power. We can't go and buy it. We can't tell someone to do it, whatever. But as I said earlier, we can be an irritant in some way to engage with people and say, look, we're still here. You haven't done it. We need it. And on behalf of the people and businesses and homes of Lowestoft, is it not our duty? I mean, if the council decides it isn't, but in my view, it is.
I think you're right, John. I think we should raise it. Neil.
I think there are two ways of looking at it. I think there is a very useful thing for the town council to be a facilitator in bringing the groups together and maybe hosting, as well as noting that there is very little that we can actually do with our staff to actually achieve things. But if we can be a coordinator, or just actually provide a space for discussions to take place and for people to be together on it, that's probably where we can come in very effectively. And we can put forward arguments if there are joint things that come up from the council, that we can send missives to all different organisations on behalf of the town. And so I think there are real positives in doing something, and actually looking at how we can affect people being able to take more action. And I think that's probably what you're hoping for in some ways, rather than actually us being out there with placards saying we need protection now. It's actually getting people talking about it and getting the people who make the decisions actually making them aware of the issues.
Indeed, one of the points in the actual tracker was to write a stiff, stern, significant, whatever the adjective was, to the MP, telling her that we need something doing. You know, what are you doing? What are the people you're involved with? What are they doing? You know, it's that sort of role that
we need to prod people.
Yeah. I don't know where that's at, but that was one of the things.
I have now received an email from the MP acknowledging the request and saying that she would be open to attending a meeting, and that would be a key person for a town council to go to, would be the MP, as your MP is your representative to central government, who is in control of the finances for this. So she has said she's open to having a meeting, so I will be working on that this week to try and get it scheduled in.
I think that's the way forward, definitely. Yeah. Thank you, John. Thanks for raising it. Thanks for all the comments on that. Okay, that takes us to 69, to consider issues relating to waste and pollution. 69.1, discuss the bulky waste arrangements for 26-27 and the feasibility of expanding the service.
Oh, right.
Wendy, you were there, weren't you?
Yes. We had myself, Deborah, Neil and Andy met with our waste contractor today, the person who's managing our bulky waste collections. And it all seems to be, it's all going really well. People are very happy with it, but there is quite, there's very few complaints, no complaints really of any significance. But so we did suggest to him that if, because at the moment there's like a 6 to 8 week delay sometimes in terms, so somebody will phone up, but because of the, it's not every day, obviously we do this, there is quite a significant time delay for when items getting collected. There hasn't been a lot of moaning about it because, as he pointed out to them, there are other options people could actually pay, right? And if they're desperate to get rid of something, then there are, there's East Suffolk Services, but there's also himself, he can do it, blah blah, and all that sort of thing. However, we did discuss, because it is so successful and it's very, very popular, if we could look to extend the scene somewhat with our contractor, what would he be comfortable with? And he suggested, and Andy's mentioned it already, but I worked it out at 12,500, but basically we're looking at 12,500 pounds increase in the current budget so that he will be able to do half again, so he can do 1.5 times that he does at the moment.
Really?
So we're asking this committee to approve this, that we do look to extend this scheme, and we therefore need to add an extra 12,500 pounds to the budget for the scheme.
Yeah.
So questions,
anybody? John?
When you said expand by 1.5 times, do you mean frequency or geographic area?
no, frequency.
Frequency.
Yeah, we can't do the other, we can't do the areas that are not Lowestoft Parish,
No.
because
Yeah, thanks.
Just more collections, basically. Neil? Oh, John was first. Sorry, John.
Thank you, Neil. Just a question. So it's a great scheme and working very well. I just wondered whether you've got if there is occasionally, when the cycle's wrong, there is X number of week delay before collection. In your rejigging a bit with the extra half day, does that, in the spreadsheet or whatever it is you're using, does that come down automatically?
Ian doesn't necessarily do like a 1 whole day or 1.5 a day, because he also runs his own private waste collection service. So what he does is he has a certain number of hours per week that he uses, but that might mean that he does some on one day, some on another day, because of where he is. So rather than driving, so say he's got a mattress in Pakefield and a sofa, 3-piece suite in Gunton, he won't, but he will try and go to the area to minimize. He won't be going backwards and forwards all over the place, so he'll organize it on more than he doesn't do it on a daily basis, because he can actually jig it around so that he doesn't have to be driving here, there and everywhere, and be as economic as he can.
So
with
it's
the
climate
petrol.
conscious then, not
So
using the
it's
fuel.
basically about
Mm.
the amount of time that he spends, really, but that time doesn't fit into a neat day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No?
Well, it's to do with cost.
Hmm.
You know, he has a budget that he has to work towards. So that, but how he spends that budget, how he
Mm.
chooses to spend that budget is very much up to him.
Yeah. Thank you, Wendy. Can I go to Neil?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of clarification on that one. It's not just on the amount of time. It's actually on what particular goods he collects.
Hmm.
Because, for example, one of the major things that's been collected are fridges and freezers, which the actual cost for getting rid of those is significantly higher than anything else. And they actually, he was advising us they go to a company in Birmingham who comes out and collects, because they do a very guaranteed situation that everything is done positive.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And I'm happy to second Wendy's proposal if she's making it, to actually recommend it, because there is also they have a base where they actually, if they've got people in need or anything, there are goods that are good enough quality to still be reused, they are actually done. So they're very careful about what goes to landfill, what doesn't. And that is really of a benefit to a lot of people in this town.
Mm. I think that's a very important point, that's being recycled properly. Yeah. Andy, can I bring you back in? Because I know you were part of that discussion group.
I think John asked, correct me if I'm wrong, John, you said if this extra cost was approved, would it bring the waiting times down? And the short answer was yes. But as Wendy said and Neil said, because the cost is different according to the item that's being collected, so the time he works is basically, he has his budget for the week, and when that's gone, that's the week done. And that might be more or fewer collections depending on what's been collected. But he was asked a specific question: how much would it cost if we were to increase our budget to either clear the rolling waiting list, or to at least bring it inside a month? And his response was, £1,000 and some odds a month would get the waiting list down, so at least are less than a month.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. Okay, so we've got a proposal, we've got a seconder. Can we have a vote on that then, please? That's unanimous. That's everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. So it takes us on to, we've already done 70, so it's down to 71. Date and time of next meeting is Monday, the 17th of November at 3:30. 72, any items for the next agenda? John?
We have mentioned a couple which.
You will, I think
we have
Taylor's got
been
those
captured.
down. haven't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I've got those in the minutes. I should say that members who've requested them, if you could think of any supporting information or any particular way that you really want the item to be phrased, just let me know.
Can you send that to Taylor, please? Yeah.
Can't remember what we said.
Do you want reminding?
What I can do is when I'm writing up the minutes this
Yeah.
week, I'll just contact the members who made the
Do that
request,
personally.
and
Okay.
we'll just hammer
Yeah.
out the item phrasing together.
Yeah. Debbie?
So does that include the list of things, the list of people you were writing to in connection with the flood defences? Was that one of them?
Somewhat, that's in relation to with the action planner, and if the process should include councillors also taking on actions, how that should be reported back
Right.
in. And
So that's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
John?
Sorry, Wynne, but just on that point, yeah, it may be that issue would need to be a standalone agenda item that goes somewhere else, because it would be structural to how the action planner works.
Yeah,
rather
it
than
won't
just a-
it won't fit into one of the usual
No.
title headers we've had, but it would be an individual item, likely after public forum and budget and finance. It'll just be its own item.
Okay, thank you. Wendy?
Could we have a report back on the litter pick and that's taking place on Honour's request on the 29th
29.
of October, and future actions? So the item will be a review of the litter pick, how well it went, if anybody skidded down the bank and died, and also a future future date.
And
Dave.
the list pit was going to be my point.
Yeah, it's
and
29th.
29th at 10 o'clock at
Mm.
Arnold's bequest, if anyone wants to join us.
If I may, I grew up in Gloucestershire, and there's a thing called the cheese roll.
Yes, there is.
Hill, very near where I lived. If Wendy's thinks that we could repurpose the slope and actually make a public event out of it, perhaps that should be looked at.
Well,
We
actually,
can get a big cheese down
Councillor
there,
Pearce has
like
already
the
attempted.
MP. John.
Can I just make sure that the report on the Associated British Ports meeting is on the agenda? Because that's with the first point that got raised, and I'm just making sure
Yeah.
it's on there.
Thank you. Well, Taylor, we've got a lot to do.
Has that report been circulated to everybody?
No, because it was at the end of September and then I went on annual leave.
But it's been done. I've seen it.
What, the Associated British Ports minutes?
Yeah, the meeting that took place. I've been reading something.
I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think it has, Wendy.
I've definitely not finished the minutes I took, and I was the only staff member in attendance.
I'm sure I was reading something about the meetings.
Never mind. Well, then, if anybody else got anything else to say, can I thank you all for attending today, and particularly our new members. I hope we haven't done too much to put you off, and we hope to see you in a month's time. It's a very happy, friendly meeting, and we all get on so well. So thank you for everybody, and I'd like to officially close the meeting for anybody who's watching the recording.